Hey, everybody. John Gums, Dakota Grappler going live. I tell you what, it's going to be a fun night talking a little wrestling with two great coaches, both young, both upcoming programs. I've always said Trevor we've had on before, and Brandon, I tell you what, he's been around the scene for about ever. But as we go, if we have a little echo, I might have to have you guys put a little, there he goes. He blinked up for a second. Device not connected. He'll figure a way back on. Trevor will come back on. But I tell you what, guys out there, as we get the numbers up with more people watching, we're going to talk about tournaments coming up. Probably not ranking so much. We're going to talk about a little bit of coaching philosophy, a little bit about, how we have tournaments scheduled, going down to 13 weight classes, how it affects things, and go on for there. So I'm going to let you guys introduce yourself again. I'm John Gums, owner and editor of Dakota Grappler. If you guys have an opportunity, as people get on, feel free to ask questions along the side, and I will try to get to some of them. Of course, keep it appropriate. Every once in a while we get some spam stuff on there, but I delete that right away. I hate that part about Facebook sometimes, but we're here to have fun and talk wrestling tonight, and hopefully we'll be, just entertaining to some of you guys that love the sport. So, Brandon, why don't we start with you, Brendan, and tell us a little bit about yourself, what you're doing, and how long you've been in Devil's Lake. I know you're born and raised pretty much, but as a coach.
So I'm actually a Minot native.
Oh,
yeah.
But there we go.
So I actually, if I had lived in Minot, I would have been a Ryan Lion. So,
how old are you when you moved then to Devil's Lake?
Kindergarten.
Okay.
So actually, like, kind of a cool story. So, I lived in Minot. That was my dad's first job, was at Minot Ryan, and then he actually got the head job in Center, North Dakota. We know Center, and then if anyone remembers the Lennox boys,
very well.
So if anyone remembers,
Jerry Madden was the coach for many years, and Fass, Coach Fass, the two.
So
coaches
Kurt
there.
Lennox and I, this is kind of a cool story. So Kurt Lennox and I were like childhood friends when we lived in Center, and we used to ride. Remember those big wheels things? Yeah, we used to cruise around Center on those big wheel things, and then we stayed friends, and it was really super cool. So his senior year, my junior year, like, we both ended up in the state finals with the exact same record. And just kind of one of those cool stories. But my family, we moved to Devil's Lake in, was it 88, 89?
Okay.
And then kind of been there ever since. Took some time off, lived some, I lived in Fargo. I was a assistant with Keenan Spees for quite a few years. And then that's where I ended up meeting my wife, was during that time period. Kind of came back randomly to Devil's Lake. And then met my wife and came back and been here. I think this is my 17 was my first year, I think, as head coach.
Okay.
So my 7th year now. So time flies. So it's like 8 years. So 16 was my first year back coaching when Coach Lambrick. That was his last year. If you remember Todd Lambrick?
Yep, very well.
Yep. So now just trying to continue on and just keep building program.
So now, when you first came there, was your dad taking over for Coach Lamb? Is that who?
Yeah, he would have took Hugh. I believe it was Stefan or Lamb. I believe it was Lamb,
okay.
Though. And then he stepped in. After Coach Lamb, I believe, if I'm correct. I'd have to check my thing, but I'm like 99% sure it was Jim Lamb. Yeah.
Well, before we get on to Trevor, who are some of your assistants that are helping you right now with your program?
So very fortunate. I still have my assistant that's been with me for a long time, Brent Midlighter, originally from Jamestown. He was with Larry Eslick for a long time. And then because of the guards, he came my way and got him on board, and he's been there ever since. And then I have a couple former wrestlers of mine. Got some young bloods in there. It's nice. Is guys that wrestled for me is Colton Young, who just graduated not too long ago.
Mm-hmm.
Was a couple times state place for me. And then another young guy, same age, year older, is Tyrese Leaf. So he was in my program for, a few years. And so it's nice getting those young guys in there. And then I have my long time, if everyone's remember, Jenna Gerhardt's mom, Annie Gerhardt. So she still helps out with our program. And we're building our program. So
Well, if you have a chance, guys, Devil's Lake does have a Facebook page for the wrestler. If you want to follow them, I tell you what, they do some pretty good social media stuff along the way, pictures. They just saw their team picture up the other day. Always something pretty good. Definitely. So, Trevor, let's get to you for just a little bit. You're all dressed up and kind of surprised a few people. He didn't dress up for the show, I'll tell you that, but he was working at school. Oh, he did.
Oh, I did. I mean, you just see the top part. You don't see below. So.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit on how you're doing so far. You know, you've been working hard in the room. I did feature one of your college pictures. I tell you what, I tried to find you in a singlet, but I couldn't find one out there. So you were just running. I don't know if you had to lose that much weight in college, but it looked like you were running.
Not even a little bit. No, that was my senior year of college. I was wrestling 285, so I had to do the opposite of losing weight. I was only weighing 250. So, not a lot of weight cutting in those days. But, I don't know. You might have to go back into the Montana archives to get a picture in a singlet. I don't really know. But, kind of a similar timeline as Coach Flynn. I came to Dickinson. I came to DSU in college, came to wrestle here. And then after my 5-year career was done, got to be an assistant coach under Pete Dobitz in 2016, 2017. So that year you took over, Brendan. And then right away, Dobitz says, "Hey, you want to be head coach?" And I said, "No, I don't really think we need to do that. Let me be an assistant." And then the next 2 years, him and I were co-head coaches. And then since Coach Dobitz stepped down, he's still a legend in the making. He's still a great high school baseball coach. But I've asked Jeremiah Hayes to be co-head coach with me. So him and I have been doing the co-head coaching deal. This will be year number 5, and I did 2 years with Pete Dobitz before then.
Well, awesome. No, so what is the hardest part of coaching now? As you split out your tasks, what do you think is the most difficult?
I'd probably say the paperwork portion just feels like it gets to be more and more every year. And then I think I never really thought it was another aspect, but I would say the social media part of it too. I don't claim to be an expert or anything, but like you said, Devil's Lake has a great Facebook page, and you want to be able to give the kids some recognition on social media. So it might start with Facebook, and then it branches off into Instagram, and then that might branch off into the Twitter, and then that might branch off into the TikTok or the Snap. I don't know. There's all this stuff. So you got the paperwork side, and then you got the practice planning and the trips and the actual coaching, and then on the side, hey, maybe we want to do a little bit of social media. So being able to divide those tasks not only among the coaching staff but also the managers is really helpful. So you don't have to be a one-man show.
Yep. Definitely. No. So if you had to give one of your jobs away that you were to an assistant just to do that, would it be social media? Would it be the paperwork?
I think it'd be the social media. Yeah. I'm not a trendy guy.
Nope.
I don't know the trends. I don't really care to know what's cool or what's new. It's just like, man, I got my system of paperwork, got my system of practice plans. You can just take the social media and find out.
How are you contacting your parents?
How are we contacting parents? We use a Sports U app.
Sports U app. Yep. Okay.
Yeah,
how about you, Brendan?
From
actually, it's kind of cool that he mentioned that is Fields Olson. So Fields Olson is our girls head coach now, and he introduced me to that Sports U app, and I absolutely love it. Just because, I can communicate with the family. If I want to start a group chat with the family, like all the parents, I can just message the parents. If I want to just message all my athletes, I can. Or if I want to message everyone, I can put my calendar on. I absolutely love it.
Well, I tell you what, I go back to the beginning of all the social media stuff, and there's been a lot of athletic directors really, how could you say, hesitant going back to the beginning of anything social media, or even Dakota Grappler in general. The message board has never been a great place. In fact, I've actually stayed away from my own message board because just let people talk, whatever. But I had to give people a chance to get their voice out there, and there was no such thing as Facebook. And now I run most of my social media stuff through Facebook and through Twitter or X, or whatever you want to call it, just because that's where people are at, and a common thing. And it's free compared to a website running it full time. But I still run a website, so it's interesting. No, for getting your results out, how are your papers so far in Devil's Lake? They cover you guys pretty well? And in Dickinson, they do it at times. I see some stuff on there, but how are your newspapers or your stuff for local getting it to your kids?
So our sports announcer, he does a really good job. KZZY, his name's Mark Bigley. I'm still trying to get him to like transition to announcing radio for wrestling, like call wrestling matches. Cause
Sure. Do you have your
but-
matches on?
so we have
anywhere?
them streamed. They're streamed
Okay.
through the NH. Like I don't know with all the rules now. I'm hoping like we can transition to YouTube just because I know a lot of teams do, and it's an easy platform. But as far as like coverage goes, we get a lot of really good coverage. Anything I post, there's a lady, she's been a longtime teacher in our school, and she runs this like Devil's Lake development page, and anything that
she'll get some out there for them.
Anything that the teams post, in the parents in our community, like they do a really good job of covering us. And I mentioned Annie Gerhardt earlier,
Right?
She's oh my, like priceless, like just the value, like that, all the stuff that like Trevor talked about. Like if there's one thing I give away, it is that aspect. Because it's the last thing I want to worry about is going on Facebook and putting the results.
And yeah, I totally agree. A coach should actually give that duty or assign it to somebody, stats, something, and have it monitor a little bit, but have an adult also involved. I'm a big believer that wrestlers need to get recognition.
Yeah,
because it brings programs up. I know that Devil's Lake a few years ago, their numbers weren't great, and you kind of had almost like secret double probation to try to keep it going in Devil's Lake. And you've done a very good job. And it takes parents, it takes everybody, a whole tribe to get it going. And social media is just one more tool if used right to attract some kids.
Yeah, I mean the thing is everyone's on it. Like the funny thing is like I'll get quicker responses on Sports U than if I send a text.
I know, right?
Like it's so funny. It's
call
so
somebody.
funny.
No, yeah, I don't get calls back. It's a text or something. Very true. No, I tell you what. So last week, Mandan had their first duel, and I teach at Mandan. If you guys don't know that, my son went to Century, but live in Bismarck. But so I talked to Gomez, and he goes, you know what? I asked him if somebody was streaming their event, and he goes, no, nobody is right now. We don't have it set up. And I said, hey, I'll go talk to the athletic director. And he said, yeah, it's fine. You just put it out there. And Turtle Mountain was there, and Mandan won that duel. But I had that night already 1,200 views of the video, and that's just on Facebook alone. But then you look at, I even put this on Twitter, and that had about, I'd say, 160 views. And then that was the first night. And then YouTube, I actually had only, I think, 66. But the thing is everybody's on Facebook, and if they know that, it's easy. They don't have to do anything crazy. They just go in the search and type in Dakota Grappler, and they get to see it. So it actually works pretty good. And live, there's a couple things, like I use StreamYard. If people don't know that, I have the premium version, so I can have all the stuff. But people can go into StreamYard and do stuff for free, and they can do their home duels, and it goes straight to their Facebook and to YouTube if they want. And stuff. And there's still up in this corner where I have little Dakota Grappler in the corner. They would have their little StreamYard logo. That's it. But and it's pretty good. But there's YouTube is pretty good. But you got to understand, if you can't go straight to Facebook, you're not getting the same views either. I know that by the time this says 14 here, but by tomorrow it'll be a couple hundred, and then on YouTube it'll have some. And I wish these were a lot bigger, but you get the main fans and go that way. But let's go back to your season as opens up. Trevor, let's talk about where you're going this first weekend, and then we talked behind the scenes about your great schedule before Christmas here. But let's go to this weekend first, and then talk a little bit about your schedule down the road.
Yeah, our schedule, we've been trying to put together a schedule like this for a few years, and it's nice to finally get it to this point. We open up at the Sydney Eagle Invite in Montana. It's kind of cool for me being able to. Sydney was a rival to us in Glendive, and I remember wrestling at that tournament growing up. So it's kind of hard to convince some people to stop going to the Mandan Lions and then go to the Sydney Eagle Invite. But when you wrestle teams from Poway, California, Post Falls, Idaho, Columbia, Idaho, Lake Stevens, Washington, Rapid City Central's there, David City, Nebraska, Oak Harbor,
they usually
Ohio.
Have 7-8 states usually most of the time.
Yeah, Mahoma, Seymour, Illinois, and it's absolutely nuts. So we went to Sydney. We've never looked back. It's been a really great tournament for us, and this year is a little bit different because usually there are only a couple different weight classes, but basically most of their weight classes are going to be a pound lower than ours. So that'll be something that we'll just have to deal with. And our first duel will actually be on Friday against Williston. We're actually going to have our conference duel up there. And we get 4 guaranteed duels on Friday, and then we start our individual tournament Friday night, and then finish up with the individual tournament the following day. So it's a pretty great tournament. It's a heck of a 2-day
So your
tournament.
boys should get 6 to 10 matches. Anywhere in that range, 6 to 7.
And also not only varsity but JV too.
Okay, so you're taking a big bus.
Yeah. Melbs will put 6 mats at the high school and then 4 mats at an elementary school. So those JV kids will get 4 matches on Friday and then another 3 or 4 on Saturday. So all of our kids get a lot of wrestling.
Oh, you can't beat that. You need the mat time. That's awesome.
Yeah, for sure.
So how about going down to Rapid the following week? Do you also take them down to the JV down there? Because they've got a great JV that Saturday.
Yeah, so we've actually had our JV go to Bowman.
Bowman, okay.
Goes on that day, and it's really nice because it's only a 1-day tournament, so our kids get another day in school, and then our JV guys will just get that 1-day tournament. It's only an hour away, and it's a nice little JV tournament, and good to go to that Class B tournament. And our JV does just fine there, so kind of avoid taking another bus of 45 kids down to Rapid for a whole weekend. So that Bowman puts on a good little tournament, and we enjoyed taking our JV there that weekend.
Okay. Tell us more about what your schedule is before Christmas then.
Yeah. Well, the Rapid invite's grown, so much. It used to be 8 mats, I believe, and now it's 12, boys and girls and JV. And I think when I started coaching, it was 45 teams, and now it's up to over 60. And I think the lineup this year has 2 or 3 from Colorado and 1 from Washington. That's a pretty great tournament. And Troy Berg a couple of years ago, I can't remember if he got the Dave Walls Award or he got the most outstanding wrestler, but pretty darn cool at a tournament like that. And then we actually forgot to get our paperwork in to nominate him for the Dave Walls Award, and another school nominated him. So kind of speak volumes about the kid he was. But then we go to the Pat Weed duels in Gillette, Wyoming, which you can't give up an offer going to Gillette. I talked to Dave Michelson when he used to take Dickinson down there in the early 2000s, and they did some good work down there. And we got snowed out last year. We couldn't compete there, but we were fortunate enough to get another invitation to the Pat Weed duels, and then we'll have
and that's 7 to 10 duels.
8. I think they said 5 on Friday and then 3 on Saturday.
Okay, you're gonna go 8 now. Okay.
Yep, and we get a dual Butte, Montana, Scotts Bluff, all the Wyoming schools. It'll be pretty good for us.
Well, I tell you what, that dual format just gets very interesting because those kids that are marginal could lose out real quick, and you're wondering what they're doing. And this now in a dual, it's team atmosphere, it's team building type of opportunities. Definitely.
Absolutely.
And then right after Christmas, you got the Rotary.
Yep. Well, actually, before Christmas, we go back to Sydney. We're actually going to meet up with Lewistown, Montana, and Havre, Montana. And when I was wrestling in Glendive, Havre won state tournament all 4 years. I think their coach, Scott Filius, I think he retired winning 12 of 22 state titles in that span. So we get a match up with Havre, Montana, which is awesome. And then Lewistown, pretty good program there. And then we'll come back after Christmas to the Bismarck Rotary, another state tournament like atmosphere. And then we're going to make our return trip to Miles City for the first time in 5 years as we go to the Cowboy Invite in Miles City. They've got that tournament built back up, and just it's going to be a great tournament schedule for our boys.
Well, I tell you what, they should be ready for anything come regions and state, because they're going to face tougher competition, probably even than possible regions and state. It's awesome.
Yeah,
definitely. Okay, let's go to your schedule, Brendan. What's funny is I spelled your name wrong too. I probably said it 7 million times because I got the Don on the end instead of the Dan.
No, it's good. So last week we opened up with Valley City, and that was super exciting for us because Valley City, like, that's always kind of been like a unwritten like rival, with us. That goes back to the old days, even and everyone's kind of curious, like, what Valley going to be like, because they were pretty senior heavy last year, and they have some tough kids coming back, some young kids, so you're not quite sure how they're going to be, and you kind of wonder how your team's going to be. And the kids came out and they just performed really well, and I was like super impressed with how we performed.
You guys won pretty handily. Was it 44-21 something?
Yeah, it was 54 22.
54. Okay, that's okay. Yep.
So like I said, for us to open up that way, because for 2 years we took our lumps, we took our lumps, and it's we're kind of on that upswing now again, and where we got some tough kids, and we're finally like spread out in our weights. And then, so we're kind of excited to see that. And then when I was talking to you about how my relationship is with my AD now, so like this weekend, some of my more experienced varsity kids that are on that, like, you know, they need that tough competition. They need to go see those tough kids. We're sending them to Mandan. And then some of my younger guys, you know, that they're varsity level, but you know, they're not quite ready for that meat grinder yet. You know, like you don't want to go and completely destroy them. But so the nice thing is now I get to send like the rest of my team to Jamestown this weekend. So it's really nice that I have that relationship now with my AD. He lets me do those kind of things. So then the next week for us, Thursday is a big, huge conference duel for us because I'm super excited because North, a lot of teams, like Brett Mon's done a really good job of building North back up. And,
you guys are both on the edge of being on that, make the state duel because it is that in the east side.
Yeah,
that's a big duel already.
That's a big duel. So that's a really big matchup for us. And, you know, it's going to be fun. There's going to be, we'll see where, we'll see where my 89-pounder Estenson, and we'll see where Ward, I saw that he wrestled 215. So I don't know where his weight descent is, if he's, if that was
up or down or what.
Yeah, I don't know if that was descent.
He was pretty big for football.
So. I know he was big in football. I saw him playing football. I know he was big, and so we'll see. I know there's a lot of people looking, I mean, that's a 2-4 matchup, I think, in coaches polls, depending on which one you're looking at,
Yep.
So
and I saw that Lindstrom got down. He was actually a lot lower than I was expecting. He's lower than I ranked him.
Yeah, I'll talk about that in a second. So but yeah, so I'm super excited because a lot of my guys, especially my 107-pounder, like he's finally like an actual 107 now.
Samson?
Yeah, like he's actually a 107 now. Last year he was still weighing like 99 pounds. Like we were still drinking water to make the minimum weight.
Yeah.
Like we were making sure we had clothes on in weigh-ins and not stripping down to the nitty grit. Like, please tell me you wore your wool socks today, kind of thing. But then, so we have them. And then we have another big conference duel the following Tuesday with West Fargo. So that's going to be a big. So we got two big ones, right. And then we have the Dennis Flynn shootout, which is a lot of fun because that's the same as the Mandan lineup. It's the 8-man scramble, so 5 matches, 5-6 matches, and come in one day. Scrap it out, and we have our women's tournament now, and the women's tournament side is full. So super excited about that. JV as well. So I mean, it's a
well. Then we talk behind the scenes. You get to see the new team in the East, Central Cass.
Central Cass is coming. Yep. So so my dream was always like 4 East teams, 4 West teams, and that's how it's always balanced out. Like it's not West heavy, it's not East heavy. It's 4 West teams, 4 East teams. And then, the nice thing is if there's an open spot, we fill it with JV, fill it with that extra guy that is varsity caliber, and so there's lots of wrestling that day. And then we actually go into a quad the following Tuesday, and then we finish out on a Thursday with Cheyenne. And so it's a lot of wrestling. And I think if I did the math right, like some of my guys could end up with like close to like 15 matches in the like next couple weeks or something like that. So great way to go into the Christmas break. And then I choose to not do anything over Christmas break. For me, I let those guys have that time off, and I really do something. I picked this up from Keenan Spies a while back. Is we call it the Winter Olympics. So it's a lot of fun. Like over our Christmas break, we do something as a team where we have a Winter Olympics. We do a 3-on-3 basketball game, which is absolutely hilarious. So we divide up in the teams and we do like a relay race and different things, and we play a basketball game and just kind of do some fun things. So
keep it loose.
Yeah, just kind of keep it loose. I mean, if Penn State plays dodgeball before some practices, I think we can have a little fun too. It's kind of my view. But then, then that after that Christmas break, you go into that January meat grinder. You start off with the rotary, and just get going after that. And I'm excited to see where we're going to be by then. So.
Well, it's surprising enough. We don't realize sometimes that these kids are still kids. We're dealing with high school. We're dealing with high school kids. This isn't their future. They're it is, the rare breed that we're going to have going D1 or even Division II wrestling. It'd be nice. It'd be nice to, but guess what? We got to take the whole team atmosphere and build from there and try to make everybody enjoy the sport as much as possible. As we all know how tough wrestling is on people through the season.
Yeah, it's tough on your bodies. And that's like I'll just mention quick, like you mentioned, like Owen, and like so 2 years, so the last 2 years he's really taken his weight serious, and not just like a wet wrestling season thing. He's really gotten serious, like a year round weight management. And since he's done that, like he's actually continuously like gone down, like he like eats like his whole diet plan. He's like, and I have a couple other guys that are like really regiment too, like as far as like they've really bought into that like year-round thing rather than like, 3 weeks I gotta start, So
yeah. How is your team, Trevor, balancing out? I know that the bigger side, the state really crunched things a little bit with those bigger numbers. We took those, the 170 to heavyweight and smushed it together. So how's it looking for you guys? I know it's going to be an issue in some places in the state.
Yeah, I think it's going to create a lot more competitive duels. I mean, it'll totally depend on the matchups, but I think duels will be a lot more competitive. You essentially you took out a future state champ in a way. It's kind of weird to think that way, but there are going to definitely be some good brackets around the state. Our team's looking pretty good. We've got I'd say solid numbers for all grades. We don't have like 9 seniors, but we have 5 seniors, 4 of which have been to the state tournament, and I think about 5 or 6 juniors, and our sophomore group is at 10 and our freshman group's at 13. And we got a lot of Glazers on our team. We got 3 of those Glazers. So right there you have 107, 114, 133. And then we got a couple Myers, TJ and Hugh, which would be about 145, 152. And then between 72 or 89, kind of wherever they fall. But then we kind of got, I think 3-4 kids who could be state placers all in like 2 or 3 weight classes. Looks like maybe like a Jonathan Klitsky or an Aiden Damas will be 121. Wyatt Turner, he's a freshman this year, just placed 8th last year or 4th last year as an 8th grader. He'll be, 121, 127. I talked about Gage Glazer, Colton King, 139. He put in a lot of summer at Fargo and Tulsa. Conrad Kaparia, freshman, coming in as a state qualifier last year, probably around that 145, 152. And then in your upper guys, you have a Keltenberg at heavyweight or 215, and Ethan Halverson, he was a blood round guy at heavyweight last year. So we'll definitely not only be able to fill our spots, but also have some good wrestle-offs at those spots. And definitely at those tournaments like the Sydney Eagle Invite or the Rapid Invite, we'll be able to have a couple varsity guys in those brackets.
Well, I was impressed. I watched a couple of your guys playing football, but that wasn't for Dickinson. It was actually for Trinity. So how I saw that, as they're playing through, and they had a good football season this year.
Yeah.
And I recognized a few names, and I'm going, oh man, I forget that always Trinity doesn't have the wrestling program. They're together, of course. How many of you guys on your team are coming over from Trinity?
This year we have 6. We got a brand new guy who just wrestling for the first time as a sophomore, but both Myers and the 3 Glazers, that makes up 5 kids, and then a new one from Trinity. But I think it took me till my 5th year to coach a kid from Trinity. So, they come in waves, they come in spurts where you have a lot, like when Jake and Luke and Mark Melmer were all wrestling together, you had a bunch of Trinity kids, and then maybe went a few years without them. And then Jarrett Lee comes through. He's a Trinity guy, with Matt Brooks. I mean, you got to have your spurts right now where we really have a lot of Trinity guys, which is good because it kind of gives those kids who might be on the fence over at that school wanting to try wrestling. It's just really good for the program.
Well, it's awesome. And good kids. I tell you what, I love the effort of Meyer last year. He just every time I turned around, he was like going and giving whoever you wrestled a fit. And that is testament to how you teach your guys too. A lot of you guys, people don't realize that all the different work that you do besides this, your team building stuff and your mental game. I thought you guys were as strong as anybody when it came to the state wrestling tournament, just as a team, stayed very solid together. And that
appreciate it.
Yes, definitely. So tell me what you did. I'm gonna go off script a little bit here, Brendan. I know you're a big time weightlifting. What are you doing for your kids for programs in the off season a little bit? I wanted to talk about that earlier, but I just remembered it. So tell me a little bit about your weightlifting, because you guys have been really getting stronger and stronger. Is that you guys got a weightlifting program going, or?
So
the secrets, Brendan. Come on.
Yeah.
So I'm big on high volume and low volume training.
Okay.
So like when I get kids going, I always preach to them like, okay, so like you have to figure out your accessory lifts versus your main lifts. So like your main lifts are, your squat, your deads, your bench, or your power cleans or something, right? And something like, so that's your main lifts, or like say like if you want to throw in someone might argue like, oh, a row, okay, a row is fine, whatever. But like the big thing I preach is, so like I'm a big guy on like high volume when you first start out. So like when I talk high volume, like if I'm doing one lift, that means I'm doing 40 reps minimum for that one lift.
Okay.
And I would like right now, like we do morning workouts, and I'll come in and I'll say, all right, you got a set of 20, set of 15, and a set of 10, so we do a lot of high volume to start. And then like I like to mix in low volume, especially in the off season, just because that, that high volume, like in season, I'm high volume only.
Mm-hmm.
Like in season, I only do high volume because that's endurance muscle, trying to keep that lean muscle, that endurance muscle. And then every once in a while, like we'll do some low volume, but I really stay away from low volume. The only reason why is just because low volume it's so hard on your central nervous system,
Okay.
If a kid so I really work percentages with the kids. So in the off season, we'll start like, okay, so your first week is 50-60% of your max. Okay. Everything you do. And then your next week, you jump up 10%. Okay. And you're working like 70 to 75% of your max. Okay. And then the third week, you're working 80 to 85%. Right. And then that fourth week, you're working 85 to 90%. I never go to 95. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Or like max out. And then after that fourth week, we'll go back, we'll wash that, because I have them keep their numbers, So like if say you're,
and you can see how you increase that strength as the time goes.
Yeah. So like, let's say you started at 100 pounds first week, right? And you did 20 reps. Okay. So after that 4-week cycle, you wash it and then you go back. And then if you started at 50%, now you start at 55%. So you just jump up 5%. And then you repeat that for another 4 weeks. And then after like that ninth week, so that ninth week, I tell them like, okay, body weight, like calisthenic kind of stuff only. And then take like somewhere after that ninth week, then that 10th week, like go have a max out day, go have a max out day where you can get some new percentages,
and you'll see those strength gains.
Yes. And then, so like if I'm low volume training, I don't allow them to do anything over 20 reps, and that's including warm up.
Mm-hmm.
So like, that's everything.
Because then they don't have their weight high enough then if they're getting 20.
Yeah. So like if they do low volume, I always have them do like accessories to get their body warmed up,
Okay.
like whether it's like a face pull or like a lat pull down, like, I know people will go heavy on lat pull downs, but like I like the lat pull downs and face pulls, especially because face pulls, like they're so underrated.
Body control.
Well, it's that shoulder girdle,
right?
It's that shoulder girdle. I mean, wrestlers, like our shoulders get worked, so that's a big one for me. And if I'm training low volume, I'm always in like a 3 to 5 rep range. So for me, low volume is 3 to 5 reps, and then high volume is anything over 8 reps.
Yep. I tell you what, I've been lifting weights pretty much since I was 30. Before that, I knew nothing of weights.
Yep.
and what's crazy about it is there is a science to it.
Yeah.
And there's enough kids that if they're taught early enough, they can put on a lot of strength with all the testosterone that they have. Definitely.
Yeah. Well, for example, my one kid, like he got after it hardcore. So he was a 60 pounder for me last year. Now he's all the way up. I mean, he's not a full 215, but he's wrestling 215 and he's weighing like 200 pounds now. I mean, he got after it. He got serious. He he got on a plan, followed it, asked me for some tips, hey, this and that, and just away he went. And some other guys too. Like, it's really fun to see that, It's really, really fun to see that.
And I've noticed that with your program, how much strength that they've gained since you've been up there. It's a good thing. Definitely. Okay, so we're at the halfway point, a little bit more than that. I had another question. I'm surprised no one out there. If you guys are out there listening, feel free to ask a few questions. I haven't said much there, but there could be something on Facebook, but I haven't gone over there. If anybody has anything, feel free to, mention or ask questions. I only want to keep this a certain amount of time. So Brendan, let's ask you, and you've gone through this, Trevor, before, but I'm going to go to our rapid fire questions because we don't have Bill here tonight. He usually has a lot better questions, but let me bring up some stuff here.
Put him on the hot seat.
Yep, put him on the hot seat. So, Brendan, you get to be on the hot seat.
Privilege. Pressure is a privilege, John.
Yes, and you probably watch these. So some of these, and so let's go right now. Here, we're going to call our rapid fire questions. Okay, here's the first question for you. Your favorite after weigh-in meal, Brendan?
When I wrestled?
Yes.
Pugsley's hot ham and cheese. If anyone remembers Pugsley's, remembers Pugsley's sandwiches, they were the best thing ever. Ham and cheese.
That's pretty good.
Had to be red Powerade. Couldn't be anything else. Ham and cheese, red Powerade.
Okay. That's pretty good, because here's the funny thing, and I don't want to say this the wrong way, but you actually gained the most weight that I've ever seen out of a wrestler one time, and then took it all back off.
Oh, you're good, man. You're fine. You're fine. You're fine.
Trevor, do you remember those days?
Yeah, I didn't have much weight cutting experience making weight. I went to DSU and wrestled 197. I had to lose like a solid 5 pounds. It was rough. And then Thad O'Donnell asked me to go heavyweight, and I didn't even let him finish asking. I just said, "Yep, I'll do that." So, and then in high school, I think I wrestled the state finals at 215. I was like 203. So, yeah, there wasn't many times making weight that I was like, "Oh, I got to get something," So.
What was your favorite after weigh-in meal? Because that's a new question too for you.
Yeah, peanut butter on bananas. Just a jar of peanut butter, and then put that peanut butter on a banana and just go to town on that. That was good.
I liked honey sandwiches, surprisingly. I'd have like a little bear, honey bear, and bread, because instant energy. Just it hits you. That's what I like. I don't think I've ever told anybody that before, but that's what I used to always get. Okay. What is it like to be coached by you if we asked your wrestlers?
Me?
Yep, that's you.
Ironically, you asked that. So I actually was at a NDSU football coaches clinic this past spring. And so I've over this last course of this year, after our state tournament last year, I've been doing a lot of like self-reflecting and self-evaluating. And there's this guy by the name of Coach Chambers, that he's like a coach for coaches.
Okay.
And he asked that question to us. And like, how when you're like, you're at those things and you're at those coaches clinics and you're like, okay, like I need just like one thing I can take away from this. And I remember that guy got up and he started talking, and then he said like, what is it like to be coached by you? And what does that look like? What does that feel like? And like, that hit me like a ton of bricks, and he's like, another thing, like, you should look at your program, and he's like, what are you good at? And I just remember sitting there like, wow, like, what are we good at? And so like, we've done a lot of changing, and I actually had one of my seniors, who I have a really good relationship with, and I call him Captain America, just because he kind of is, like, he's just a super stand-up kid. And I asked him that question, and because I knew he would give me a like super really brutally honest answer, and he actually gave me like a real nice answer, and like just like he liked the energy, and like the way I like push the guys, and how like just make myself available to them, and just a minute, I won't get into all the details, but that was like the one thing that he really appreciated was the energy, the energy and the willingness to like push them and actually like tell them to do more, and not tell them to back off, you know. And he even gave me a harsh truth. And this is one of the things that I had to self-reflect on. He gave me a super hard truth. He's like, sometimes I feel like you're showing all this stuff and I don't know what to do, you know? And that was one of the things I had a really like big self-reflection on myself going into this year, was like, I had to really like look at myself and like, I was like, yeah, we're becoming a jack of all trades and a master of nothing, you know?
Okay.
And, so like this year
that's a great evaluation for a lot of coaches.
Oh my gosh. It was so powerful, you know, coming from your high school kid, where he's like, I often find myself like struggling to figure out what to do, you know? And he's like, okay, so if that kid is like saying this, then obviously there's more, you know? So we've done a lot of changes. Like I've done a lot of personal changes myself over this past year. And it's like, all right, like this is what we're doing, you know, like we're going back to this and we're doing this. And I'm not like I haven't even shown a short sit. I don't even waste my time anymore, honestly.
What's interesting is I like that analogy of almost like the old Nebraska coach. You know, Nebraska football, they used to run this veer option play. We just run right up the middle, and they knew it. But guess what? You're not stopping them because they knew what they were good at, and they're still going to get it done. If you can devise a program where your kids believe in you and you have those basic moves, you might be known for them, and they'll guess what? The other teams have to plan for your best stuff every time. If they don't know what to plan for, you're not doing it good enough. You should be really good at something. Every team should be good at something. Definitely. I totally agree. That's awesome. Okay, let's go to the next one. Okay, what is your college wrestling team when you were growing up? What is your college?
So I was a Hawkeye fan through and through. Gable, Steiners. I mean, especially you got Steiners, Gillis, you know, all came from North Dakota. And then, you know, I made that treacherous decision. I only say that, but you know, I ended up going to the Gophers. And so all my Iowa stuff like went in a tub, you know, and I'll be honest, there was some times I had to like catch myself when I was, you know, the Minnesota Iowa duel. I had to catch myself like I wanted to cheer. The Iowa fan inside of me was like, oh my gosh, that was so cool. You know, but I can't but you can't cheer because you're sitting by all your Minnesota teammates, you know, and you just saw your teammate lose and you're like, that was awesome. You know, and the little kid inside of you is like, yeah. So, but yeah, I was a Hawkeye fan like through and through.
Trevor, what was yours again?
Michigan Wolverines. I went to the Ann Arbor. They have a heavyweight camp every year, and it was just a blast. Andy Rovat, Olympian, and what was it, 2008, 2004?
Yep.
He was kind of like the head clinician, and it was just all about heavyweights, and it was awesome. So. That was when Tyrell Todd from Bozeman, Montana was wrestling for them, and got to meet him there, and just it was absolute blast. Love Ann Arbor, and go blue through and through.
That's awesome. Okay, popsicles or dilly bars?
Neither.
Okay, you've got another health kick.
Health freak.
Yep.
His body's the temple, I bet.
Give me a bag of chips, bro.
A bag of chips. Yeah, it's all about the salt. Okay, give me 3 characteristics that all wrestlers need to have.
Discipline, grit, and I would say be aggressive.
I like. Okay, next one. You a mama's boy or a rebel?
A little bit of both.
A little bit of both.
A little bit of both. I grew up like, if you ever run into some of my dad's old wrestlers, I mean, they were all my brothers. I mean, I was tied and taped to chairs and stuffed in lockers and held down. I mean, I remember one duel, if you guys remember Scott Owens and those guys.
Very, very well.
Yeah, I remember one duel, I ran my mouth to him, and I deserved everything I got. I'm not going to pretend that I didn't deserve any of it. I remember one duel, they came in and they were taping me a chair. Like, this was before they went out and competed, you know, and they taped me into a chair and they come in and my dad looks at him and he's like, what did he do? He didn't even care like that they were taping me a chair. He's like, what did they do? He's like, what did he do? And they're like, well, he did this. And he's like, okay, well, just don't leave any marks on him. I can't explain to his mother. You know? And then walked out. So
I deserved it, man.
oh yeah, for sure.
That's how I grew up too.
Yeah. Like my wife's dad, he used to say this in the comment, it's true. He was drug up the hard way. So for me, I was definitely drug up the hard way.
No, awesome. Definitely. Okay. Major League Baseball or NFL?
Watching NFL.
Okay. Okay. Are you fast-paced or consistently slow?
Ooh, I'm pretty high energy, man.
Okay.
Pretty high energy.
Okay. Next one. Physical or mental athlete?
Mental. I can teach you to be. I can get you strong. I can't teach you to be tough.
Awesome. Okay. Next one. Favorite holiday?
I'd probably say Thanksgiving.
Okay. Favorite number?
7.
Tell me a reason for
John
7.
Elway.
What's that?
John Elway better not be it.
Well, it's actually I have 2,
Okay.
and they both equal 7.
Okay.
So one is 7. That was just my number. I don't know why. It just was my number. But 52.
52.
Ray Lewis, man.
Oh,
That's
okay.
my dog. Ray Lewis is my dog.
Yeah, the new favorite number for college guys are going to be 3 for all those takedowns nowadays.
Yeah.
It used to be 2 forever. Okay, how about this one? Now, this should be a good one since you're at Minnesota. Best wrestler you ever wrestled?
I cannot remember his name, but he was out of South Dakota, Spearfish. He was me and him wrestled at the Rotary.
There's some, not Buxton.
No,
because those are earlier. Those are the 88s.
Yeah, he like in high school, and then in my younger days, it would actually be a Dickinson alum is Michelson.
Matt.
Okay.
Yeah, Matt. Oh, he used to he used to mop me.
He was
when we were kids. And if anyone remembers Jesse Labor.
Oh yeah, Jesse Labor. Oh man, probably one of the toughest guys I've ever seen, hand strength wise.
Yep. I remember. So growing up, I always wrestled Matt Michelson and Jesse Labor in the Cleary boys, and oh my gosh, yeah. So we had some epic battles when we were kids.
Trevor, you never had to wrestle any of those, did you? Because you're a little later. Did you have to wrestle any McCleary's?
Nope, no, I didn't ever have any McCleary's. Nope.
Oh man, you missed out. Yeah. Okay, how about this one? Any habit you learned in wrestling that you still do today?
Tape my fingers.
You taper like buddy tapering, or
oh yeah, lobster claws.
Yeah, I still weigh in every morning.
Same. Actually, yeah.
And I know what my weight's going to be. It's within. I can move it about. I still have one of the old scales that goes up and down. And
oh man,
yep, I've got the original scale. Okay. I see the horns behind you. But cat, bird, or dog?
Dog.
What kind of dog?
I'm a big pit. I love pit bulls.
Okay. Awesome. Now this is a tough one. If you could have been a fly in a wall in some other coach's room, whose wrestling room would you have spied on?
Ooh, Bruce Mo.
Oh, Bruce Mo.
Bruce Mo.
That is kind of funny because I've been around Bruce a long time, and Bruce still battles. I tell you what, he was wrestling in the room with Clay Redens this last year. And I'm going Clay Redens, and Bruce is 60 something. And Bruce went down again to the Nationals. He didn't win it this last year, which kind of surprised me. The seniors, he's won that many, many times down in the senior, whatever division F, or he used to, not quite masters, but he's won that many times.
Now, like present day, definitely Kale Sanders. I would just just
what are you doing, man?
Yeah, exactly. For sure.
How do you do it? Yeah.
For sure.
Okay, one more thing somebody wanted to do. Remind Flynn to talk about his wrestling camp.
Yeah.
Probably Annie Gerhardt. Without even looking, I bet that's Annie Gerhardt.
Probably a couple of Dickinson boys.
Yeah.
Definitely. What do you got going for wrestling camp?
So last year was the first year of my camp called Indie Legends. It's a 5-day intensive. It worked out really great. I was able to have Jenna Gerhardt as one of the counselors. So I had a guys and a girls camp. So it's open to guys and girls. And then I had Fernando Beretta and Gavin Drexler from NDSU down. Used my old connection when I used to coach with Nick McGee a long time ago, and got hooked up with a couple NDSU guys to come. And it was just a great 5 days. It was a great 5 days of wrestling, and we worked out 4 times a day. So in a matter of 5 days, I think, what was it like? Oh my gosh, it was like 19 workouts or something.
Okay.
So they went through it, and the best part is we stayed in dorms, so it was pretty sweet. So we stayed at Lake Region State College, which is literally like a 2-minute walk to our high school gym. And they had the dorms, they're full AC, full, like everything, had their own bathroom, had their own shower inside their dorms. We got to go eat in the cafeteria 3 times a day. So they got breakfast, lunch, and dinner, like full course meal, like it was great. It was a great time.
Awesome. Just remember to get that stuff to me, and I'll make sure I put it out there on social media and see if we get you some more numbers. Okay, the last thing for tonight, I want you to do a little name, basically call out some of your wrestlers and what they've been doing. Go through your team just a little bit and give them some recognition. Both of you guys. First, you, Brendan. I know you've been talking the most, but you're good.
Oh,
that's because he's the man.
No, so
I'm just a sidekick.
I'll just start at 7. So I'm super excited for Ryland Samuelson this year. I know the coaches. I know some coaches, and the other ones, like I know you yourself, felt like he was deserving to be pretty high in the rankings, and so I'm excited for him because like that.
I was waiting for him to grow into the spot.
Yeah, and he finally is. Like I said, he's finally actually like a full 107. And I'm excited for him because he's a tough wrestler. There's definitely a dog inside that boy. And I'm excited for him. And the best part, he's only a freshman. And then moving up to 14, I got Wesley Fisk, and then I actually have another one, Mitchell Gerhardt. And those three, oh my gosh, all 3 of those guys were my 107 last year. And like the dog fights that they had and the dog fights that they still have in this room have just like super been super fun. Like I remember wrestle-offs, I had to remind myself a couple times, like, hey, like you're reffing, like you get kind of caught in the action. You're like, oh my gosh, that was awesome. Like, like you just see but those 3 have really pushed each other, and I'm excited for those 3 to see what they do in those lower weights. And they've put in a lot of time in the off season. And then I'm super excited for Owen coming back. Like I know that boy is kind of a man on a mission right now. And it's one of those things where, if we wrestle state tournament a different weekend, like, that whole weight class last year shakes out probably different every weekend, with him and Richter and Thompson and the Williston kid, credit to the Williston kid. Like he turned it on at the right time. He had a good tournament last year. And so I'm super excited now, like, seeing that Owen was able to manage his weight. And then moving up to 27, I'm really excited for Tucker Bennett, my 27. So he wrestled, he's kind of been that smaller guy, but now he's really like filled out. And like, he's looking good. And he scraps with Owen and those guys all in the room. So he doesn't get a day off, and then moving up to 33 is, Daniel Charbonneau. And he came out of nowhere last year for us. Like, he was actually weighing like 126 at state, going into 132, and then ends up like, I was just kind of like, hey, do you want to wrestle 132 at state? Yeah, sure. Or, regions. I was like, hey, do you want to wrestle? I was like, yeah, sure. I'll wrestle 32. I don't know. He's like, I don't really want to wrestle Owen, So I was like, okay, And so he goes up, ends up like ends up getting in the state tournament, and then finds himself in the placing rounds, just like kind of had a breakout year last year. And then this year, he's been super tough in the room. And then moving up like 39, you got some other guys, young guys in the mix that are ready to like step in and fill those shoes. And like in the middleweights, the guy coming back for me is Kobe Dronin, Levitt. Kind of JV, a lot of JV varsity like experience last year and stepping into that role. And then my senior that I told you that gave me the really good eval is Landon Kurtz. I'm super excited for him because that kid just puts in work. I don't know what those band things are. Do you guys know what those band things are? Like they made,
Okay.
but like after practice, he does that every day. Like he'll put in like an extra like 15, 20 minutes like every day after workouts and just do that. And I'm excited for him. And then I'm actually really excited. I mentioned Daniel, and then I have Logan Charbonneau. His younger brother is stepping up, and he actually had a huge win for us against Valley City. He got a pin for us. So I'm excited to see him and what he's going to do. And then I have a newcomer. He actually wrestled for Pembina County. So I kind of knew a little bit. His name's Micah Dennis. So we had some. So I actually had 4 wins. So we're actually co-op with 4 wins now. So we're like the Ramsey Benson. I can't remember what county 4 wins is in, but I think they're still in Ramsey. But we're like, it's crazy. And we got Minnewacan, but I'm excited for him. And then moving up to 72, I have a senior there. And he's developed. He's in his 3rd year now. And he's that guy he's a good role player for us. His name's Harley Chris. He's a good roller player, wrestles, goes out and just, does his job for us. And then Tate, 2 years in a row, 2 years in a row, like comes in unseeded and, and the kind of shocks the state a little bit. I still get goosebumps when I saw him like put Porter to his back. Cause in my mind, like, I just remember the only thing I could think is Porter's got to shoot a double and we got to catch him in an over under. Because like that was in my mind. I was like, that was our only shot. Like Porter's going to slip up in a double. He's going to if he gets lazy in a double, we got a chance. And boom, it happened,
Shot with his arms out.
Yeah. I mean, I
was right on that side of the mat when that happened. Yeah.
And I knew in my mind, like that was our chance, that was our chance. Cause Tate's got really good hips, that's one thing he like. And then, like I mentioned, Braxton. So Braxton Rance is my guy that like, and like literally like 8 iron, and got super big. And now is to be 215 for us. And then, so heavyweight's kind of like the mystery wild card right now. I had a kid that kind of had a little bit of a breakout year for himself in football. So I got a lineman coming in. I'm excited for him and see what he can do for us. And so,
well, awesome. I tell you what, I see good things. I like I said, it's a testament to all the hard work you put in. Okay, Trevor, let's go through some of your team. Give us some shout out some guys, and then we'll call it a night.
Yeah, well, I'm just excited about the team overall. We went to Greeley, Colorado this summer. We went to the University of Northern Colorado team camp, and we actually won the camp. Got 15 duels in, and just kind of out of nowhere won the team camp. So that was pretty awesome just for the boys. But on top of that, we had more kids do Tulsa cadet duels in Illinois, junior duels in Tulsa and Fargo Nationals, and we've had in my time here. So at 107 and 114, I said it's the younger Glausers, Jake and Max Glauser, those twins, and having them be split apart is going to be really nice. And Jake Glauser just turned it around at the state tournament. He lost to Nick Ensminger in the semis, but every match he won, he either teched or pinned his opponent. I was like, man, where did that come from? So Max being able to be 107 is going to be big this year. And both of those guys went to cadet nationals in Illinois. Their older brother, Gage, he's been a 3-time state placer, and he was a 2-way starter on Trinity's state runner-up football team. Gage is just a humble leader, does a lot of things the right way, and he's going to have another good season. I think he's been looking forward to this year for a while. So going to try to get on top of that podium and try to be a 4-time state placer. And he was also one that went to junior duels in Tulsa. Hugh Meyer did both cadet duels in Illinois and then Fargo Nationals. And I think he was a blood round guy for Greco. Yeah, Hugh just fell in love with the wrestling room this summer and did a great job. I know him and Billy Ward got to wrestle a lot in their practices, and Hugh was a starting nose guard for the Trinity football team as a 180, 189 pounder. So he just got to be on the field, and he said it was an area that I could help the team. So we're really excited for Hugh this year. And then Colton King, he put in a lot of work this summer. I think he's just fallen in love with the sport of wrestling the last 2 summers, and he did Tulsa duels for junior duels, and then he did Fargo Nationals, and
he did the summer Bismarck camp. He did
the Melmer camps, and on Sundays he went to Rocky Mountain Nationals a couple of times. He's really coming in as a leader on this team, and he's got his goal set as a state champ, and we're going to do everything we can to help him out with that. But Aiden Damas, he's a senior, 2-time state placer, and going to be that 121, 127 range. And Wyatt Turner, just as an 8th grader, just kind of came out of nowhere and ended up 4th place. We're like, dang, he's going to be a good one for us in the future. Him and Conrad Kapari, he's a freshman, should be about 152, but he qualified last year at state. He was weighing 145, but we had an opening for 152, and he goes, all right, I'll do it. And so now he's going to be actually 152 this year. Ethan Halverson, a heavyweight, he's been a all-conference football performer and just 1 match away from placing at state last year. So Ethan Halverson and Kelton Berg, whether he's 215 or heavyweight, when those bigger guys reach their junior year, sometimes you see a lot of growth. You see a lot of maturation. And so for Kelton Berg, we're pretty excited for him to go up there. And then we got a new guy who moved in from Great Falls High in Montana, Malachi Medina. So he can be anywhere from your 189 to 215, maybe even heavyweight. But he was a starter on the football team this year for Dickinson High School. So I think we got about 35 guys in the room right now, which are awesome numbers. And, we just want to share the greatest sport in the world with these guys, and hopefully that they have some fun along the way. And, if they put some knots on heads and score some points, that's even better.
Awesome. I tell you what, Class A is going to be tough this year. They've got a lot of returning state placers across the whole state. And then with the crunching down from 14 weight classes to 13, and then adding the extras, Class B wanted the extras so bad and they didn't get approved for it. And I tell you what, it'd be nice. The 13 weight classes is going to be tight, and it makes the duels. And I don't know all of the reasons why some coaches wouldn't want, to have as many guys wrestle as possible. But right now, I think we're at a good spot to see what happens. And all the new weight classes, I know as we go to state, we're going to have to make some adjustments, but I think everybody's up for that and get some new guys out there. Yeah. No, I'm excited to see what you say. What are your final words there, Mr. Flynn? I wish everybody good luck, you name it, but let's get some final words in, and we've reached our hour, and appreciate everybody out there watching tonight.
No, I just appreciate it getting us on here. Just final words is kind of what I preach to my team. Just do something great. So I'm excited to see what great things happen this year. And I'm excited for Trevor, because Trevor's we've become good friends over the last couple of years. And so I'm excited. And like I said, I'm excited to see some of the guys from his team that came to my camp, and excited to see how they do, and excited to see it's just fun, man. It's just so much fun watching this. So I'm excited to see what kind of great things happen. So we're good.
Well, I tell you what, that's good. You guys are all battling to beat the Bismarck Highs. Kind of, it's always been that. And, the dream of when it happens. And, you wouldn't think a dynasty could last that long, but when you got Schumacher there, you guys are battling. And, and so he's retiring after this year. We'll have to see if that opens up the state. I don't know. It's all in hard work. See what happens there. Trevor, last words.
Yeah, I just want to thank you just for having us on. And I was pretty excited to be on. And then Brendan texted me today and said, heck yeah, we got to be on the Grappler together. I said, no way. Awesome. That's pretty cool. But yeah, it's, Brendan and I text pretty often just about scripture and about faith. So the whole coaching fraternity is pretty awesome. That's something I never really thought of as an athlete. Growing up, I knew I wanted to be a coach, but you just become good friends and brothers with these guys you coach with. And it's been awesome to hear about the ND Legends camp starting up in the summer. I had a couple boys do that, and just seeing where Class A wrestling is going to be. Like you said, Central Cass is going to be in our classification. Now you have the 13 weight classes, and then you got Jeff Schumacher's last year. You never want to see a legend go, but It'll be kind of cool to take it in stride. And I'm excited for our boys. I'm excited to see what the state of North Dakota can bring. And it's just going to be a fun year. And I got to remember to slow down and be like, hey, just take it one day at a time. Let's take care of practice today. Go to Sydney Friday. We'll be in Sydney Saturday, but just take it one day at a time. Love the sport of wrestling.
Awesome. You betcha. Like I say in my book all the time, that we're here to make sure that, wrestling does well, but we have to bless the Almighty for us again to do it. Thank God for wrestling. That's what I said.
Amen to that.
Well, you guys have a great night. I appreciate you guys coming on, and I'll catch you out there very soon, both of you guys. And I owe you let's say a t-shirt or an adult beverage or something, burger, steak. Thanks again, guys. Thanks for watching Dakota Grappler. Next week, we got Mandan assistant coach Lorenzo Gomez coming on, and we'll also have Central Cass's head coach coming on, Travis Lamar, and we'll keep doing this every Wednesday night. Bill was busy. He'll be on next week, hopefully. And guess what? I'll also be tomorrow night. I know we got a lot of wrestling coming up this week. A lot of things happening in college wrestling. I put a little schedule out there. Big Ten Network, if you can catch that. Sunday nights is wrestling pretty much every weekend. I didn't talk about that. Bill and I usually talk about college, the Iowa State-Iowa duel.
Iowa State won.
Yeah. The whole state of Iowa won. Yeah, for that one. But the Hawkeyes found a way to win that. And we had, of course, Caliendo got his butt kicked. But then last second, couple close calls. We still had our West Fargo boy. He got a win, but man, that was close. I watched that whole duel and it was biting because I'm an old Iowa fan too. But you think, like I said, tomorrow night there's a ton of duels across the state. You guys need to go out and see some. I know Mandan and Century. I'll be putting that on. It'll be on Facebook here. I'll put that on live and do some commentary. We'll be able to see a lot of stuff this weekend. We got Mandan and then all the Class B tournaments. I mean, this is a huge weekend for wrestling. Napoleon's got a tournament. Jamestown's got a tournament. Hillsboro's got a tournament. A lot of people go out to Sydney. We got teams all over the place that have, an opportunity to get their first matches in. So I wish everybody the best of luck. If you need anything or Dakota Grappler wise or wrestling wise, if you want to, any publicity for wrestling, guess what? Get it to me. I'll get it out there for free. That's the whole idea. I think that's pretty much what I'm supposed to do with my life is make sure wrestling gets promoted. So guys, have a great night. Again, Dakota Grappler. We'll catch you guys soon. Later. Bye.
Thanks, guys. God bless.
Thanks.